control, and so it burned the apartment complex to the ground. There was also a fire at a home. Undetermined how that fire got started, but bottom line, that fire also caused extensive damage. This morning, we're not getting any reports of any people who have been injured, but understand it's still very early. Communications is very difficult, and as you can see from where I'm standing here right now, if I can try and show a little bit with the light here, the wind is still blowing, the rain is coming down, and the real story here in Victoria this morning now is going to be the rain. They're estimating the possibility, because of the movement of this hurricane, Harvey, stalling in this area, that we're likely to see upwards of 37, maybe even 40 inches of rain. And if that happens, there's going to be extensive flooding. The rivers in this area are expected to all be above historic stages. One that they're looking very closely at is the Guadalupe River here. And they say that river likely will get 32 feet above its normal flood stage. So if this stalls, as it looks like it has done, we'll hear a little bit more here shortly. But as this hurricane just dumps in a record amount of rain, the real story ultimately is going to be how bad the flooding gets. Chanel?
All right, be safe. We'll check in again with you.
The dirty side of the storm, the worst side of the storm. So Rob is really getting the worst of it. Rob, this is the worst and toughest hurricane to hit the United States in more than a decade. Have you covered a storm like this before, and how is this different?
Yeah, if I had to compare this storm to anyone that I've covered, I would compare it to Hurricane Rita in 2005, which had a similar pressure. Actually, I think it was the same pressure. This one came on shore as a Category 4. That one was a strong Category 3. But they both came in, and the peak of their landfall was in the middle of the night. And that just amplifies the fear factor.
Oh, there were like Halloween and Thanksgiving cards in the aisles last week. I was like, whoa. Anyway,
oh my goodness.
It's fast.
Still summer.
It's crazy. A Toys R Us pop-up.
Yep.
I know. It couldn't stay permanently, but it's back. All right. Let's talk about the weather. It's going to be beautiful again today. I mean, come on. Is this enough or is it enough? It's gorgeous. I know. We're so very lucky while our neighbors to the south suffer. So what can you expect from this forecast? First and foremost, for us, the beautiful stretch continues. Temperatures remain below normal. Now, by Wednesday, we bring back a shower chance, but really between now and then, it's a minimal opportunity for wet weather. Your weekend, pristine. Major problems right now for southeastern Texas. Our weekend forecast here at home, picture perfect today with mostly sunny skies and a superb finish. I'll just add a B at the end of that. 77 and mostly sunny again. Now down to Texas, where Harvey is a Category 1 storm. It came ashore last night as a Category 4 hurricane. Thankfully now it is weakening with winds at 90, but really the wind's not the biggest issue with this storm. It is the rainfall. Let's show you a closer look at the radar now. Already some spots have received estimates as high as a foot, and there is days to go with this storm. You can see the torrential rain falling around the eye wall right now, those outer bands already sparking tornado warnings this morning, and this trend will continue for quite some time. Take a look at the track. By tomorrow morning, this system is finally downgraded to a tropical storm, so the winds are going to continue to whip, the rain is going to continue to pour down, but that's not it. Watch as the storm just lingers over southeastern Texas all the way through Thursday. Normally, these storms might come ashore in the Gulf Coast and rain themselves out as they trek all the way up into Canada. But in this case, Harvey is going to rain itself out over southeastern Texas, and so the rainfall projections are staggering. Take a look. Some of the highest estimates up to 27 inches, but really doesn't tell the whole story. Locally, we could see some totals as high as 30 inches, even up into Austin, which is a ways away from the center of the storm right now. They could see up to a foot of rain over the next several days. Catastrophic flooding is expected there. So we need to be very grateful for the sunshine and mid-70s. That's what we will enjoy today. Overnight, another cool, crisp night. Take a look. A chance for showers as we warm back to seasonable levels in the low 80s.
What a great weekend.
Unbelievable stuff happening.
Right.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Well, August, it is peak season for local white corn.
So here's fresh
Texas. So you can see where the storm is. Don't be fooled by the fact that it is now a tropical storm. It's not the winds going on from here on out, those 65-mile-per-hour winds. Look at the movement. It's stationary, and that's what's going to be a huge issue. We have the Gulf of Mexico feeding into these bands of rain, and they will continue to rotate around the center of the storm over the next several days. The storm doesn't start moving until Monday afternoon, and even then it slowly moves to the north. In fact, the diameter of this little circular path it's taking is only about 150 miles, so it's staying put. It's going to continue to feed into the moisture off the Gulf of Mexico, and that's why we are going to see another widespread 10 to 20 inches of rain, with some areas ending up with those totals around 40 inches. And again, this is going to be an issue all the way through at least the middle of next week.
And before you know it, it's flooded. We learned a little while ago that the route we took in here now is impassable.
Exactly, because all the water that accumulates on the sidewalks and the roads, once it trickles down, it goes into the rivers and streams, and then they overflow their banks, and then we end up with more flooding.
All right, Dylan's right. Dylan, thank you. The town of Victoria, Texas was also hard hit. It's inland, about 65 miles or so north of where we are. NBC's Kerry Sanders is there. Kerry, what is the situation there this evening?
Lester, Harvey's already dumped about 10 inches of rain here, and you can see the spillways and culverts are nearing their capacity. As residents here in Victoria begin to assess the damage, the growing worry now is a coming flood. Streams and creeks overwhelming their banks, all of it flowing into the bulging Guadalupe River. The best way to look at that is from above. Take a look at the drone shot here. With 20 to 30 inches of rain forecast to fall here before Harvey is gone, water managers expect by Wednesday the river to crest 32 feet above flood stage. Residents who live along the river in the area are concerned not only about the flood, about the fact also that they do not have flood insurance. On top of all of that, because of the power outage, there is now a mandatory boil water alert for drinking water. Lester?
All right, Kerry Sanders, thank you. And there is growing concern this evening in Houston, which has already been hit by almost 1.5 feet of rain, with much more on the way. And now tornadoes have started touching down. The city preparing for the worst tonight. We get that part of the story from NBC's Jacob Rascone, who is there tonight.
Come here, hurry, run, because we're going to go inside.
Tonight in Houston, the immediate threat is not catastrophic flooding, but tornadoes. This one reported
loop that this line makes, and then up it goes right through those bays again, because remember, this made landfall after being a tropical storm. Within 48 hours, it was a Category 4 storm, making landfall at Rockport, second at Copano Bay, and then pushing through. It will pass right by where it made landfall again in this current track.
Meaning it will pass by Rob again.
Correct, but this will be late tomorrow, Sunday night into Monday, so we've got time, but it's not going to move from then. So even though it weakens, the eye sits there and it weakens and it weakens, and it'll largely get a little bigger and a little messier looking. But the big shield of rain is going to happen on the north side likely, and that's where some of that inland flooding is going to happen. So the rain's not going to stop. The wind is going to lessen, but it's not going to go away for that loop.
And it does. So it looks, when we had the split screen up between Matt and Rob, it looked like Matt was in so much of a better situation. Yes. But actually, there are going to be times for Corpus Christi where it will get rough again.
Again, it'll be later, Sunday night, Monday. It could be where the tropical storm turns back around, depending on how tight of a turn it makes. Heavy rain.
So complacency is the most dangerous thing.
Absolutely, from this point forward, and excitement to get out. I'd say the combination.
Right. And by the way, this made landfall as a Category 4 at 10:30 local time. It's still a Category 1. That just shows its strength.
Yep.
After it's been over land for that long.
It is fighting through that friction of the land. It doesn't like that. It's going to kill it eventually. But then, even as it stays a tropical storm, this is tropical.
Another topic, because we have Rebecca Jarvis here talking about the economic impact of Hurricane Harvey. We have so many oil refineries out in the Gulf, this area severely impacted, and when it's impacted, the entire country is impacted economically.
This is the heart of our country's energy infrastructure. This is where we get a huge amount of our gasoline, where the oil goes to be refined. 45% of our country's refining capacity happens in this location. A third of all of our refinery capacity for the entire country is right in this storm's path. So you're going to see, whether you live in that area or you live far away on either coast of the country, you're going to see an impact in your
in Houston, Texas, and that's where we find our Victor Oquendo, who can give us the latest update from there, because the storm is headed in your direction, Victor.
Amy, as you guys just mentioned, that flash flood warning, all of our phones just went up.
Ginger's been hammering it home all morning. The big enemy there in Houston and many of the cities nearby is complacency. People need to understand that if they go out and drive around to see what's going on, there is the likelihood they could run into flash flooding. Victor Oquendo in Houston, thank you for your reporting. We'll be talking to you repeatedly throughout this morning. Let's go now, though, to the White House and ABC's Mary Bruce. Mary, how keenly aware are members of the Trump administration that they are facing the first major natural disaster of this young
concerns? We have team coverage tracking Harvey throughout the morning.
Good morning. As you can tell, the wind, that lightning and thunder has really picked up here in the heart of Houston. Right now, Hurricane Harvey is a Category 1 storm, about 90-mile-per-hour winds, and it really is picking up right here. It came on land as a Category 4. It has been downgraded, but as you can tell by the conditions out here, that doesn't mean anything for the people that live around here. Millions of people in the path of this storm waiting to see what happens next. Hurricane Harvey roaring onto the in the U.S. in more than a decade.
This is not anything that's going to be a quick one and done. We're not measuring in inches of rain, we're measuring in feet of rain.
Residents of Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana getting hit the hardest. Fell through this woman's home. The governor activating 1,300 members of the National Guard. And just in the last couple of minutes, we've confirmed that a possible tornado has touched down in a suburb just southwest of Houston. Emergency officials on the ground assessing damage, trying to check on people there. Also in Aransas County near Corpus Christi, we have some problems there. Officials there trying to figure out what has happened, how many people possibly could be hurt. And in Rockport, which is also south of where I'm standing right here, a roof of a senior living facility was ripped off. It collapsed. Those people being brought to the county jail to get treatment right now. For now, reporting live from Houston, Natasha Barrett, ABC News. Now back to you.
Oh my heavens, treated in a jail, right? Can you imagine? Thank you so much. As they said that it was going to be.
Right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Charlesworth.
I'm Tony Yates. I'm in for Bob Nelson.
Amy Freeze, take it from there.
Good morning to the both of you, everyone. Getting started this morning, yes, and they are still right in the midst of the storm. Natasha was actually in Houston, and the storm made landfall to the south and west of that location. So plenty of storm to come, and much of the weekend the area will be affected. Not only a monster storm making landfall at a Category 4, but still a Category 1 as it's already inland. So this is really a powerful system, still very well organized, and now it's on land, it will slow down, stalling out the rain. So they still have a very long way to go before all is said and done here. Not just the rain that she talked about, but the wind as well, making it dangerous probably to do any live reports, and even closer to Rockport, where we really saw the eye pass over. So looking at Harvey's numbers right now, 85-mile-an-hour winds, and just a quick check here, the path shows you how it's going to stay in the same area and really not move much as we move through the weekend. The projections are for it to continue with rainfall all the way through Monday. So still a lot to come there. For us here at home, absolutely beautiful conditions. Lots of sunshine and blue sky. We get a view there of One World Trade. We currently have 62 degrees through the day today. We'll see temperatures that are in the 70s. So much more on that coming up in just a few minutes. I'll see you then, Michelle.
Amy, thank you so much. Hurricane Harvey is the first major natural disaster on President Trump's watch. The heads of FEMA and Homeland Security briefed him on the storm last night. He tweeted he signed a disaster proclamation which unleashes the full force of government assistance. So a lot of money for that area. President Trump is spending the weekend at Camp David. The White House says he will travel to Texas early next week.
Hurricane Harvey is having a ripple effect on air travel in our area and across the country. In fact, Corpus Christi International
later tomorrow. I want to check in with Harvey now. Still a tropical storm, and you can see it really hasn't moved very far over the past 48 hours, basically in the same spot, and those winds down to 40 miles per hour. Look at the movement, though. That's the important thing. Just drifting around 3 miles per hour towards the south-southeast, and that's the problem. That's why we're getting that rain in the same place. Checking out the movement throughout the day today, barely moving at all, just sort of drifting along the Gulf Coast there. And even by Tuesday night into Wednesday, the Houston area, southeast Texas, Louisiana, still dealing with Harvey as it gradually pulls away. And that's going to bring more rain day after day. But it depends on exactly where these rain bands set up, because right now we had heavy rain in Houston overnight again. Now it's all off to the east, and we are thankfully catching a break in the Houston area. But look at the torrential downpours. These are those rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour to the east of Houston.
Prospect Avenue, just one lane gets by, so avoid this area if you can. Definitely the slowest of anything we're seeing. Then we have that accident on the Gowanus that's in the process of clearing. That's inbound out by Fort Hamilton Parkway, and one on the LIE westbound after the Cross Island. Pat and Michael, back to you.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. We want to bring you the very latest now on the flooding in Texas. Here is Savannah Guthrie.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Savannah Guthrie.
And good morning, everybody. As we come on the air, we've got new information on this unprecedented disaster playing out at this hour in Texas. Devastating flooding in and around the Houston area has already led to thousands of rescues. Even more torrential rain is on the way. Overnight, officials began releasing water from reservoirs. This was a move to protect downtown Houston. Dylan Dreyer, our meteorologist, has been there all weekend. And Dylan, first of all, what have you seen? What have you observed?
You know, Savannah, it's hard to believe Hurricane Harvey made landfall as a Category 4 storm Friday night. That's right when we flew in. Then on Saturday, we toured the town of Rockport, where winds gusted up to 140 miles per hour. Sustained winds were around 125 miles per hour. So the damage we saw from the wind alone was just so devastating in that area, with so many homes and residences and businesses destroyed. And then now the shift over to the rain. And driving up here from Corpus Christi yesterday, we saw pockets of torrential rain that created this flooding on the roadways. And you can see what happens in some of the low-lying areas. You end up with these puddles on the roads. Cars try to go through them and they get stuck. And that's the scene we're seeing all over, because we've already picked up about 15 to 30 inches of rain, and we are still in the middle of it. It's going to last through at least Wednesday morning, and then we have to be concerned about the flooding in the rivers and the streams.
things. We will get to the forecast in a second, but again, Savannah, we are in the middle of it right now, and things are just getting worse.
Absolutely, and we will get your forecast in a minute, but I want to go over to Kerry Sanders. He's actually in hard-hit Victoria, Texas. That's about 2 hours to the southwest of Houston. Kerry, good morning. What's the situation there?
Well, it is still raining here. There is still an ongoing situation.
Para auxiliar gente que está atrapada en su casa o que está atrapada en sus vehículos.
Ya que abordas este tema, María Paula, cuéntanos cómo se están realizando estas labores de evacuación y rescate.
Pues mira, en la zona de Houston todavía no hay una orden de evacuación mandatoria. Le piden de hecho a las personas que no dejen sus hogares, a menos que sea obligatorio, a menos que pues sientan la amenaza. Así que los agentes lo que están es tratando de recibir llamadas de emergencia para ir a socorrer a esas personas. Las hemos visto que las rescatan en sus techos en helicópteros porque ya el agua está cubriendo casi toda la casa, que salen en botes, algunos ancianos en sus sillas de ruedas los están sacando entre varios agentes. Hemos visto oficiales que cargan niños en los brazos que están saliendo de tremendos ríos, los que son las calles aquí en Houston. Por las autopistas no se puede transitar porque ya están totalmente cubiertas y claramente pues es muy profunda el nivel del agua. Son tremendos ríos en lo que están convertidas pues el área de tránsito aquí en la ciudad de Houston. Las autoridades, están pidiendo...
Gracias, María Paula, por este reporte. Estaremos enlazándonos contigo más adelante a la ciudad de Houston. María Paula Ochoa, corresponsal de Noticias Telemundo en Houston, Texas. Y ICE aseguró que no habrá acciones migratorias contra los inmigrantes indocumentados de Texas que están en los albergues o en bancos de alimentos que fueron habilitados por el paso de Harvey por ese estado. Las autoridades migratorias prometieron enfocarse en salvar vidas. Que la Guardia Nacional Aérea de Nueva York está en camino hacia Texas y Luisiana con logística y mano de obra para poder ayudar en estas labores de rescate y recuperación. El gobernador del estado, Andrew Cuomo, dijo que el personal llegará con 3 helicópteros.
Harvey was hitting Texas. Everything has changed in a week.
And is going to remain changed for some time, a new normal there in Texas. Meanwhile, all eyes on Irma out in the Atlantic now at Cat 3. So Dylan's going to have more on that in just a bit.
Yeah, these storms are our top story. Here's where things stand with Harvey right now. As feared, that storm's death toll is rising. It stands at 38 with 6 more deaths confirmed in Harris County, Texas overnight. And officials now estimate more than 100,000 homes have been either damaged or destroyed.
And there's a new crisis unfolding in Beaumont, Texas this morning. The entire city is without running water after 2 water plants failed, and it could be off for days. Crews have to wait until the floodwaters recede before they can even begin to inspect those damaged pumps.
The president and first lady plan to return to the disaster zone tomorrow with possible stops in both Texas and Louisiana.
And take a look at these stunning before and after satellite images from Simonton, Texas. To the left, what it looked like 10 months ago, and on the right, the flooding there this week.
The picture says it all. We've got this story covered. We'll start with NBC's Miguel Almaguer. He's in Port Arthur, Texas for us this morning. Hi, Miguel. Good morning to you.
Hey, Savannah. Good morning. This is what so many are waking up to.
Telemundo, un nuevo día. Aumenta el saldo mortal y la cifra de refugiados en Texas. A 6 días del paso del huracán Harvey, los socorristas continúan rescatando víctimas atrapadas en sus hogares. Unas 100,000 viviendas fueron afectadas por las catastróficas inundaciones y se estima que más de 32,000 personas aún están en los refugios. Las autoridades informaron que unos 30 condados en Texas han sido afectados tras el paso de Harvey. Vamos a pasar con Víctor Hugo Rodríguez, que se encuentra en Houston, Texas, con toda la información. Muy buenos días, Víctor Hugo. Antes que nada, ¿cómo amanece Houston el día de hoy?
Buenos días y bueno, pues así es que amanece Houston. Nosotros nos encontramos aquí en el Energy Center. Este es uno de los lugares donde todas las personas, ya que lo peor para estas personas pues está por llegar. Muchos de ellos están tratando de regresar a sus casas, las están encontrando completamente destruidas. Muchas de las familias con las que hemos hablado pues han perdido prácticamente todos sus muebles, no tienen ni un colchón donde puedan dormir.
The south, and there's actually, believe it or not, a new threat in the tropics this morning. Dylan is tracking that for us. What are we looking at here?
Well, let's get to all of it because there's a lot to talk about. The heaviest of the rain is now moving through Kentucky, so we're starting to dry things out back through Tennessee. We do have flash flood warnings in effect right in and around Bowling Green, Kentucky. Those last through tonight. Nashville, those flash flood watches will expire early this afternoon. On the eastern side of it, this is still a powerful storm. We could see some isolated tornadoes and some stronger storms through the Carolinas, even back into parts of eastern Kentucky. We are looking at an additional 3 to 5 inches of rain on top. Not yet know the effects it'll have, if any, on the United States. As of right now, it is forecast to eventually strengthen into a Category 4 hurricane. And here are the steering currents for this storm. If we have this weak ridge of high pressure, we could start to see this take a turn, possibly affecting the mid-Atlantic. Now, if this is a stronger ridge of high pressure, we could see it steered a little farther to the south and then watch as it goes through parts of Haiti and Cuba. Again, there are so many question marks because this is not a forecast until next weekend, so a lot will change, but it's certainly worth watching.
The last thing anyone wants to see on a map.
It really is.
Dylan, thank you. And of course, Harvey's impact is still being felt nationwide.